Oh, are we?
Naz, you don't have to have it as a projector. You can just have it as like a normal screen and then just screen share.
We'll get back to that in a
Yeah.
second.
That's what
Execute,
X
say
does all the
something.
time.
You want me to say something?
Yep.
This is Execute doing a sound test.
Smiffy.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Darj.
Yeah, I don't wanna.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Paul already talked, so we're good. Thank you.
Yeah.
This concludes our first sound test.
And see it? You're
It's
sharing
fine.
Discord.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the train wreck that I've created. This is the first, and I forgot to update Execute's name. Execute, you are guest one. Congratulations. Where is... is the train... Where is names? Names... The Nova Forge train wreck, brought to you by Nazeris. You hush. Save. Okay. Yes, Naz doesn't. Naz doesn't yet. All right. So this is the what we're calling it so far is the Star Citizen Content Creators Roundtable. Today's episode is going to be on building interiors because I saw the building interiors and thought, wow, people are going to have opinions about that, and I love them so much. So I basically tried to invite everyone I could find, and these guys said, yeah, we'll pity you. So. So let's go around the different esteemed guests. I guess we'll start with Smiffy. Hi, hello, how are you? What do you do? And where can they find you? What do you stuff? Yes, Paul's better at this. No sound for guests. That's fun. That's fun. You give me one moment. Because apparently they can't hear you because I forgot to set up everything.
No.
I think Paul and I said it best when it's your first podcast. Everything that's going to go wrong is going to go wrong.
Right, absolutely. That sound, no sound for get. Okay, got that. Yes, if it's not on YouTube, we have no sound. How can we sound now, guys? Start talking. Can you guys hear him?
Does that work?
Yes,
you guys hear that?
I can hear. Okay, Smiffy, let's try that one more time. What do you do?
Okay.
And where can they find you?
All right, I'm Smiffyjoebob. I stream on Twitch.
Are we dreaming?
Yes.
I don't know.
Dreaming? Am I still asleep, Paul?
Yes, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, stream on Twitch. You can find me at twitch.tv/Smiffyjoebob. I run the Omega Aerosports organization. It is a dedicated track day. Bring your ship, come fly around every Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. PST.
Cool. Astropub, what do you do and where can they find you?
Hello, I'm the Astropub. I'm Paul Berserker and Batman Shelley. I do the Astropub and the Astro Historian. You can find me at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropublive, and youtube.com/theastro Historian. I do Star Citizen content and sci-fi content for just kind of covering Star Citizen. I've covered a little bit. I will be covering KSP2 and Starfield. And I also do lore for Star Citizen mostly, but other games as well on the Astro Historian. So.
Yes, I'm really liking your weapons shorts as of late.
Thank you.
Darjanator, what do you do and where can they find you?
I do nothing. There we go.
Great.
Moving on.
Yeah, I'm probably one of those people that's most known in the community for not streaming, because I just do, oh yeah, that looks like a fun thing to do, and just post it on Reddit. I don't have an upload schedule, so I just don't have a either Twitch or a YouTube presence. But I do, appear on other people's stuff, like this, and on Halls, Captain Stable, and on the TTRPG stuff that he does also on the Spice Must Roll channel on YouTube. And primarily also I do, I help out with the graphic design for the Star Citizen community wherever I can. Obviously not this place, because this place looks like shit. Thanks, Nazeris.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So you're a serial guest. Is
Very much sing alike, Dash. Yeah.
Dash is just a serial guest.
Hey Dash,
yes.
how long have you lived inside a meat tenderizer? I just want to know.
No, this is a padded meat tenderizer.
I know, but it looks like you ever seen those meat tenderizer hammers?
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
I thought of
you've just
Portal.
applied it to the wall.
I
Yeah.
thought of Portal when I
yeah.
first saw it.
Yeah.
The Smash was in Portal. Execute. What do you do and where can they find
Hey,
you?
also,
Also?
I work for JRDF. If you don't know who JRDF is, shame on you. They're the only official licensed seller of Star Citizen miniature ships, and you can check them out at JRDF.sc.
Cool. You good? We done now? Can we move on?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Now execute. What do you do and where can they find you?
I'm full-time mentor of Paul Redeemer Shelley. It's a full-time job. It's ongoing. I do my best, but I just need more motivational means.
That's all it is. It's just a giant, long joke to upset Paul. That's what it is.
Yeah, there's
Oh, I
no
thought you were here
Batman.
to roast
It's Redeemer Shelley. Like, yeah, just everyone tweet him on Twitter. Paul Redeemer Shelley.
Don't you now have, Paul, a Redeemer that you cannot get rid of by any means? Attributed to your account?
Yes. I have an unmeltable, unupgradable, transferable.
So we know what your we know what your most hated what your most hated ship is. What's your favorite ship, Paul?
The
My
Redeemer.
favorite ship?
What are you talking about? Yeah, the Redeemer. What are you talking about?
It's the Cutlass Black.
Okay. You need to like to focus more on the favorite ship and less on just hating the hated ship.
I don't focus on the hating ship. It's just whenever it comes up, I talk about how it's a trash can fire. Then everyone assumes that it's like I like sit there and be like, I hate this forever. It's like, no.
I just feel like
I genuinely
sit in a dark room.
like
Just
it,
I hate it. I hate the Redeemer. I hate the Redeemer.
I want to go one step further though with Paul, and I actually want to get CIG to make like a charity skin for it. So he has to talk about it a lot because he'll be giving helping the charity push the skin. So I think that's a really good idea, CIG. So like a Astro Pub or something, like a bright pink and yellow and cyan Redeemer skin with like a disco ball or something in the thing. I don't know.
So what they should do is the Cutlass purple for the Redeemer.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But yeah. Just something where Paul's going to talk about the Redeemer a lot. It'd be great,
So what we're all here
Redeemer.
for is, as I said, the building interiors.
Wait, Naz, who are you and what do you do?
I am here. I don't know what I do. I stream and I post terrible YouTube videos with horrible audio because I didn't check the audio before I actually posted the video. I do tutorials and news updates and things for Star Citizen, and mostly stream and do random crap, like trying to build a Argo bulk that end up playing the game with Smiffy to find the sneak peek art that doesn't exist. Anyway, both on YouTube at the Nova Forge and Twitch also at the Nova Forge. There we go. I did think. Thank you, Smiffy. I should have done that. Anyway, building interiors and the not ISC that we had, the Road to 4.0. So we're going to go around the table. I have about 4 questions that should take about 10 hours to finish. So starting with Smiffy, what do you like or dislike about the new building interiors and things they showed off on the Road to 4.0?
I like that they're happening. Right? I think it's really important that we have these built for the future gameplay spaces. But they're making and that they're taking the time to think about what kind of spaces they want to make for future gameplay. Right? I think it's very important that we're going to have that. I don't know what the thing that I don't like is what gameplay we're going to have, and is the gameplay actually going to be useful for the game? But I think it should be cool.
Yeah. What do you dislike about them?
That's what I said.
Okay.
Did I say that?
You said you didn't like that they're happening. I don't know if there was a dislike in there.
I wrote very little notes now.
Okay, it's fine. I suppose attack on.
Oh, we're supposed to have notes?
I mean, I try to have notes. Me going off script is a bad time.
Do we need building interiors?
Do we need them? I mean, yes, I think they'd be neat, but I mean, do we actually need them for gameplay?
I mean, my opinion is I love them and I can't wait to see them because giving the space we have more space just is more space, more better. Yeah. Mr. Astroprobe, what do you like or dislike about the building interiors?
The thing I like about them is the way that they're designing them is, at least from what they've talked about, is that they're dungeon kits. And anyone who knows what a dungeon kit is, it's effectively just they're building tiles, for that they can then randomize and work around, and they can recreate it in any different way, shape, or form. You'll see repeating tiles and stuff like that. But so that what that means is that they could, in theory, make every single building occupiable or enterable. And that expands the usable space of a landing zone dramatically, because now you don't have to land. If you have a home in ArcCorp, you don't have to land at the Area 18 landing pad. You can go to a landing pad near your effectively your apartment or whatever, and go land there and do those sorts of things. Or if you want to just do missions inside of a single city, you can do that. It kind of expands the usable area and makes it so that the game feels a lot more lived in. Now, the only thing I dislike about it is that it's a dungeon kit. So after a while, it's both good and bad. It's good because it's flexible and it won't be them handcrafting every single building. The bad part is that it's going to end up looking the same. Like a bunch of buildings will end up being just repeatable,
like the space stations that we have.
Yeah. Not very unique. They'll I'm sure they'll try to give it some flair, but like space stations will just end up being a blur.
or the buildings on the Orison islands. Like, how many Ozas are there? How many gyms are there? Like exactly the same.
Yeah, that's the only downside of it. I think it's a minor downside. I think that's more of a minor gripe, because I bet you'll only really notice that after you've been into every building like 1,000 times.
Darjanator, what do you like or dislike about them?
Oh, like Smiffy said, like finally they're coming in, because that sort of level design has been missing from Star Citizen ever since the beginning. Like you walk around Area 18 and you see all these tall buildings, around the central square, and what do you get? You get a room in one, and in the other one you get a room and an elevator that goes up one floor, and there is a room, and that's it. So finally, all of these huge assets that have been surrounding us will be able to, at least have something inside them, and hopefully a lot of gameplay with them as well. How well executed that is going to be remains to be seen, because just feels like everything in terms of gameplay seems to be waiting for PES right now.
Yeah,
or some other contingency.
Yeah, and but consider they only just started on the concepting. They don't even have concepts yet. They have blue sky ideas or whatever the phrase was.
They don't have 3D art.
Yeah, exactly. So they have like inspiration for actual concept artists to start going at it and implementing the design language of different landing zones into the interiors of the buildings.
I will cut in and say that what we do know that segment was recorded in December of last year. So so they have started, but it's still very early. Like it's only been 2 months maximum that they've been working on this, and the first month was January. So
I think
it is still kind of early days. It's not really like a blue sky concept. It's more actual, like, how do we get this done? But
think about how productive you are in January, and then imagine what CIG's been doing.
Because they say that January is just summit month, right?
Yeah, planning month.
Yeah.
I think
but that's just for the higher ups. Like the people lower down are still working.
No, they go
on SCL. They had the Montreal team on just because they were at a summit in Manchester, and those were just
even
regular
year one,
grunts.
Audio
We were just wanting to take a look at the thing. You're going to be on the show.
They do that with all the teams. Do it. All the teams, even the smallest junior developers, because it's the only time they have a chance to get together and really talk as individual teams. As far as I understand,
Are all the plane tickets accounted for in the yearly? What is it, like the
travel?
The travel. Yeah,
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's under HR or something like that. I'm sure they bill it to
the report we get once a year about like the expenses and the funding.
Yeah. It may also be in the there's like a big in that report. There's like a little section that's like it's like a list of a bunch of different things, and one of them is marketing. So whenever I hear people like, "Oh, CIG's marketing team," like CIG's marketing team is put in the same line item as the bills for the lights. They don't get any money. So it's probably in that same line item.
And then execute. What do you like and dislike about the building tiers as they were shown off?
I think, as usual, Paul and I are on the same page. So for me, it would be the potential would be the big one, and they are really cleverly designed, as you could see from the video they released, like with the different areas. One of the potentials that I think is really big is kind of what Paul kind of hinted at. you could literally have full-on procedurally generated landing zones now. So later on, or in the past, they also talked about if they wanted to have completely procedurally generated systems for, say, Carracks to explore, as an example, they could do that now. They actually have a system in the Plan Impossible, but it wouldn't, as Paul said, the drawback is obviously repetitiveness. So that's the negative to it. But again, if we put in wear and tear, like they've talked about as well, we're not seeing that in any of the landing zones right now, but we know it's a thing from the outposts. So again, bring in wear and tear, different textures and stuff like that. Because right now, if you look at ArtCorp, it's all kind of one style, and Lorville's all one style. But if you have wear, tear, colors, I think they might be able to get past that repetitiveness, as Paul was suggesting.
And
And
overlays.
Sierra has been going on about like how different economic situations are going to affect it. Like if a landing zone gets on rough times, you're gonna get like trash
Yep.
pileups and graffiti on the walls and stuff like that. Yeah,
Broken
so
windows and
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a landing zone is not
that's
just the
why they
buildings
need
either.
functional interiors, because of the broken windows. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
have broken windows.
Well, it's going to be even the clothing people are wearing, like, and how worn are their clothing and stuff like that. So you are 100% correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
In short.
So it will be a very cookie cutter thing when different like high tech or low tech or futuristic styles are applied, but then you have all these different overlays that they're called, that will slightly change the look, so it won't be as similar
Yeah.
location to location. Yeah.
Something that I do hope, though, is that they, like, instead of what they did with the spaceports, right, where they just have, like, we have these rooms, it needs to have this many of this room and this many of that room, and the order is different. Make, like, 50 different room types of each room, and then maybe we can, like, hopefully see a bit more visual diversity.
Hmm.
And it won't be as cookie cutter.
What about you, Naz? What are your positive and negatives?
Positive, I think I've been waiting for Building Interiors since 2014, I think. Because they've always said they wanted to do something with them. The only thing that I can say I dislike, because I'm really on board with this entire concept, was that everything's in the same building. Like they said, like residential's in there, sure, but also commercial, industrial. Like obviously, well, there would be engineering in any building, just for even if you look at skyscrapers today. Yes, Smiffy.
I remember what I dislike.
Yes.
I dislike the layout that they like initially set out. They're like, you got like the landing pads up top, the industrial shit at the top, and then residential, and then office space, and then lobby and stuff, right?
I mean, with elevators, doesn't matter where it stacks.
Yeah.
We
Actually,
talk.
Can I say real quick to add on to what you're saying, Smithy? You remind me of something. They were talking about pads again. Hadn't we just moved away from pads to hangars? And I instantly thought of Fifth Element and the taxi parking in the building. So why don't they just have hangars in the building? It's heaps cleaner. They don't have to hang off the edge or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, that's where
Like,
my brain went.
This is also the first iterations, so it
Yeah,
could easily be that they could have like entire buildings that are like parking garages, effectively. They just
Yeah.
don't have.
It's just that they
They talked
never.
about that with the transit hub too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they never once mentioned the word hangar, and that's what
Yeah.
confused me.
The
I was like,
thing-
I
well,
don't
no,
mind having
hangars-
pads, but I want both. You know, like
hangars will be more for
Like
the
storage.
actual spaceport, because that's where you
Well,
get
well,
your
look-
own spaceport where you can park and
What about your
stay
own
there.
hab though? What about your own
Yeah.
hab? Like you're gonna want like to park your ship at your own hab, so that would have to be a hangar. And we know the biggest
I-
problem with landing zones and landing pads and why they're getting rid of them is because of the despawning. So
Yeah.
it basically means landing pads become
Landing
this
pad-
temporary drop-off point.
Yeah, landing pads are like helicopter pads on top of skyscrapers right now.
But they also
they're
said
not
during
used
it
for.
that this is for player housing as well later on. So you're going to
Exactly.
land at your house and go inside for logging off purposes, perhaps. And where's your ship go?
Does that mean the future of pads is that you cannot despawn your ship? It is unsafe to leave it on a pad because someone might come along and take it out while you're
No,
not there?
I think
was
that
a
I think that
really early concept for I think the Terra landing zone, Terra Prime,
Yeah.
where you landed on a landing pad, and then the entire thing depresses and goes into a garage, and a new landing pad gets put up. Like they could, that's a possibility, but I think like a static pad, something like Port Altar, where
I
there's
thi-
no way to hide them.
I think what they're going to wind up doing is like leveraging that like transit hub idea that they were talking about, right? So like there'll be like a neighborhood parking, like a little like hangar situation for like small ships, but like the landing pad on top is more for like just landing, dropping off a package, coming up and leaving, right?
I don't know about you, Paul, but I can so see Old Man Hurston taking his 890 jump and landing in his hangar on top of the building and then walking out with his Uwe girls. But like, I don't see him doing that in a smaller ship because the Uwe girls just won't fit. So, like, I think it also shows a sign of, I think, as Daj said, economic levels and stuff. So basically, you know, a really fancy person may be able to actually afford a capital, you know, hangar on their building. And I agree with the transit hubs, but I still think there are going to, like, that penthouse person is going to want something pretty up there. And again, you're going to get your
this is cycling back to what I dislike. There is no penthouse person in these buildings. It's now like all the industrial ship for the building.
And you got to also remember, as I said, it was a pie in the sky. So this is essentially first concept. So I think eventually, once they sit down and start thinking, well, they'll be coming onto the same ideas we're coming onto as well.
And
so
if you look around Babbage, the city I'm most familiar with, like not every building is a general use building. Like there's the headquarters of all these different companies, and those aren't going to have a lot of this stuff. It's not going to have a lobby open to everyone, a industrial place that is just, you know, random industrial things. They're going to have a headquarters. So most of it's probably going to be taken up by either residential or the offices. And sure, you'll have that like engineering, like stealth in stealth gameplay thing. I forgot what it was. Infiltrator kind of gameplay stuff in there. Like, go steal the plans of Omega drives or whatever their subname is. But I think this was a way to frame the video with how they put the slices of the buildings. I think that was more of a way to frame the video rather than this is exactly what every single building is going to have in this order, in this quantity.
I agree, but I think that may also be the first iteration. The first iteration, they'll have that sort of thing going down, so that they've built it out, and then they'll go back and go, well, then this whole building is apartments, this whole building is offices, this whole building is industrial or mixed use. But I think that'll be like the copy pasted building stuff that they'll do for everything. So I think that's really what they're going for. They're going for let's make it all work, and then let's specialize.
Yeah,
you know.
Yes, it's interesting because it's almost like the buildings are almost like a ship, because you've got all the different things you need in a building, like all the different components you need in a ship. So it's almost like it's like what they've learned, and
everything is a ship now. Like buildings are ships, people's are ships, vehicles are ships,
your suits are ships.
Your suits are ship. Yeah.
So Naz, what is it you like and dislike about the buildings?
They're ships.
They're that I'm glad they're actually getting around to getting them in. And what was the thing I didn't like? I don't remember what I don't like about them. I don't know. We've talked too many in circles.
Right?
Nope. I don't remember at all.
Who could have foreseen this coming?
I did. That's why I love the idea of this thing. It was great. It's a round table. It's not like a museum of opinions. It's a round table. Anyway,
it's the first time I've ever seen Naz stumped. I don't know what's going on. We broke him.
I'm always stunned. I hide it better. I've like I said, I've spent the entire day in bed with a headache. I've got up only to set this thing up. So my brain is like 75% not here.
Still in bed.
It's very much still in bed. All right. Execute. What do you want to see added to this idea? Other than
I really just come back to the potential. It's absolutely huge. Like, you connect this now with the underground system, you can start to see how this whole world is flushed out. And it's literally like, you go back to MMOs and you like that we've played in the past, it's like, man, I'd love to go there. This literally is going to be that first MMO where you can, if you could see it, you really can go there. You know, like we've had it on the outer surface of some other games, but like, you can see a building, you can go to the room in that building now. Like that's pretty nuts. Like it's literally going to be ArcCorp is going to be the first in-game Coruscant, which is just crazy to me. Like if you know the what and one of you guys might remember the exact year, but the Citizen Con when they flew up from ArcCorp to the station and they just turned around and the whole crowd just loses their goddamn mind. Like, you know, those massive circles of
17, I
light.
think.
And, yeah, it was
something
just
2017.
Yeah,
if they pull that off and you could fly anywhere.
That space texture was, I think, the best thing they've ever done for ArcCorp. Like, it was like, and that's all it was. Like, from that distance, you get a texture. It's the next one where you start getting the 3D, and that space texture was just perfect.
But kind of coming back to what Darj and Paul said too, if you kind of look at ArcCorp, it's all red buildings. They don't feel real. Yeah, like you go look at any cityscape in the world, it's a jumble of lots of different things, you know, different time periods and stuff like that. Paul will tell you from the lore, they've gone back and filled in the 1,000 years of our past and done all these different architecture styles, which is, it sounds crazy, but they've done that, you know? So if they can then take that and actually apply it to somewhere, well ArcCorp's not that old though, is it, Paul? I know you're going to say that, but you get where I'm coming from, right? If they can apply feeling, like get rid of that repetitiveness.
Yeah, but have that like the age show in ArcCorp as opposed to Magnus or something. That way,
even the style though.
I think lore-wise, ArcCorp was actually supposed to be repetitive because it was built like on a construction line. Yeah, just like
but even then you'd have different styles because different companies would. Well, I don't know, Paul. You tell me from a lore view, because you're the lore guy here. How's a way they could get rid of some of that repetitiveness of ArcCorp, because it suffers from it really badly.
I mean,
how would you get rid of it?
The thing is that all of those were built really quickly, as I said, that this is all fairly new, like less than 100 years sort of thing. What I would, how I might do it would be to break it up with different colors added to it. Even to the same buildings but different colors, or adding different textures or different lighting applied to it. Those sorts of things can help break it up a little bit.
Just to give you a little bit of perspective, I would argue that all the skyscrapers in the human world are less than 100 years old. Like I think the oldest one's like 90 or something like that. So
yeah, but this would be like
built by a mega corporation saying we need to move 1 billion people into this sector tomorrow.
They weren't built by the same company. You know?
But even then, it's still 100 years. Things come over time. Like there would have been, for example, there would be buildings there that have collapsed or fallen over, or been under construction. You know, like, so they're the type of things I would like to see. So as a part of that, them, like, you know, it'd be really cool. And I don't even think they could pull this off, right? Imagine they had the ability to build and deconstruct buildings over time. So they could actually have a building that gets procedurally generated and is built over time and then deconstructed over time. Like as in, so after it's been there for X amount, like, so it's been there for 2 years, it just gets deconstructed and procedurally generated into something else. That would be amazing, because how lived in would that feel?
That's something to go right to the engine team for. Like, hey, you did planets. We love these planets. Could you make a building be able to be built over time?
I just realized what there is none of in Star Citizen landing zones. Construction.
Well, that's not entirely true. If you play the social module,
there's like the coming soon stuff. No, but I mean like huge cranes making the buildings, not like this shop is gonna move in like in 6 months.
Well, no, in the social module there was a district of construction.
The social module was 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I mean, in the PU, I mean,
it's been there. It was a thing eventually.
I mean, arguably the social module is still there. We have Area 18 now.
That's not the same. It's not the same. Are there any cranes in New Lorville? I thought I saw giant cranes.
There are. Those are loading cranes.
But I mean actual building construction
cranes.
Yeah.
But can you see the problem? It comes back to, like, in 10 years' time, if that crane is still there, it just becomes a bit stagnant. So that's my whole thing. Like, again, if they've got these building, like as Paul was kind of saying, like they've laid out the different parts of the building, it literally could go, right, how long would it roughly take to build these? And you could actually have steps to a building, and it actually takes the segments and it goes, right, this is under construction. It'll take 2 days. This next bit takes another 3 days. And you could code all that. That's the cool thing. If they actually build construction into it from the beginning, they could actually have these very lived-in cities, and it would be amazing. You know, you could, and then the opposite, like deconstruction. So they send in robots and stuff to cut them up. Go, Spiffy.
So, what happens? Sorry, my voice is going. What happens if that building that gets like constructed and then stays there for 2 years and it gets deconstructed has player-owned housing in it?
That would be one of
house
the.
it
Probably
in.
wouldn't be. Yeah, there would be industrial
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Or you would make it so they've got to move. It literally, we're still in this
probably
building.
would've
So
got it
I don't want to be
years
Here's your money
evicted in
back.
a video game.
you can do that though. It adds to the realism, does it not? You've been evicted. Like
That is on the wrong side of realism. I think.
In fair, like if you were to like have regions where like this is the like old region, it's a lot more expensive, but you know your house isn't going away. This is the new kind of like area. There's a lot of construction happening over here, so you might get kicked out. Like I agree, it's probably closer to too close to realism. I would venture to say that they just wouldn't let you to could go there.
Well, in real life, they have industrial, commercial, and residential and domestic zones. So you could do this. It's like in SimCity. You
Oh,
can
that's
do the same
SimCity.
thing.
God damn it.
But it's the same. Well, great minds think alike, Daj. But it's the same thing, is it not? Like, so they do that in real life. So again, you know, and the way they're looking at buildings is they almost had all that in one building.
A lot of the newer buildings being constructed now are actual mixed use. A lot of the skyscrapers now are. I don't know if you guys looked into the one building that CIG is moving into or moved into, because it is very much like the Star Citizen design here. Because it's the lobby on the floor, it's offices, the residential, and then it has like a couple layers, like 2 or 3 of all the machinery. But it's like in the middle of the building. Like it's very much built exactly like Star Citizen's building their buildings.
Just 1 second. Redeemer.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, he's white.
Okay.
Good. Just checking.
Darj, what do you
I'm reading
want to
chat.
see
Is what I'm doing.
in this design? This
I don't have chat open. Sorry.
The chat.
All right, I'll go open chat.
What I would like to see is I think I'm just gonna steal Paul's thing, like specialization. I want it to have like buildings that are owned by a company, and then so it's not a mix of commercial and residential, but it's like just that is twin sandwiches over there, and they need like an entire skyscraper full of offices for some reason. And something that only Lorville has, but no other building has, like a mega building of somewhere. So it's a huge.
like a Judge Dredd, like.
Yes.
I mean,
like a mega tower, or like
Prime
in
has its
Cyberpunk.
building.
Hmm?
Prime has a mega building.
It has a giant tower, a mega tower, like that's like its own,
like a ecology or whatever.
Yeah, it's like an ecumenopolis, kind of arcology sort of thing.
Oh, Terra, yeah.
Terra Tower is what it's called.
In game, what is in game right now? Don't talk to me about concept art.
That's because
like
the one we have, the demo we have is at Lorville.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to make sure every landing zone that was in game has a different flavor. Like, we technically have the Aspire Grand, the point building, and then we have
I prefer mint chocolate.
AC Tower.
It's the vagina. It's not it's not as imposing as it could have been. So it's not like the huge thing you can see.
Did you
from
say
space.
vaginas aren't imposing?
That vagina.
Oh my god!
I don't know where that came from.
It looks like a vagina.
Deep mind.
There's even got like a logo on where the clitoris is supposed to be.
Is this the Hurston building?
No,
No,
we're talking about
no, Aspire Grand.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
Paul, what do you want to see expanded about this idea?
The Aspire Grand.
Let me just pause this video. Wait a minute.
In general, I'd like to see, at least I'd like to know what sort of missions CIG is planning for these sorts of things. I'd like to know kind of like at least a couple of back of the napkin ideas for what they're doing. So like, oh, this is, an infiltration mission, a hostage mission, just a delivery mission, maybe helping out with research, maybe the beginnings of Half-Life style, where you go in and you're tasked to like move some hazardous material from point A to point B, sort of thing.
I thought you were gonna say pick up a can.
Yeah, pick up that can, you know. Whatever.
Oh, I had it. Where was it? Oh god, I just randomly tweaked some dials on my Go XLR. It sounded exactly like a combine enforcement officer.
Combine. But I mean, there's like at the beginning of Half-Life 1 where you know you go through your like normal routine and you go move boxes or move the thingamajig and jig into the other thingamajig, and I'm sure there's some people who are very passionate about it who know the actual name. They'll post it in the
Zen
comments down below.
Crystal.
Oh my gosh, you actually
Post it in the comments below.
Oh yeah, into what was it? The
I know it's a resonance cascade was what it caused. But I don't remember the name of
it causes a resonance cascade. Yeah, but it was the something
which sounds
spectral
like a
analyzer.
beautiful
Yeah.
dessert.
Yes, or a great
sorry,
drink.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the place like the Black Mesa and okay, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
the actual
time with
machine.
the device you shove the crystal into that
Yeah.
creates the resonant
my-
cascade.
My point is that you could like I'd like to see some more concrete ideas from CIG other than just, hey, this is generally what we like. This is what we like to see. You know, like, are we going to see missions in these areas? Are we going to see these primary as living areas? Are we going to see these areas as just backdrop information? You know,
Really expensive
what?
package.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, hey, if
the
it
next
adds flavor,
segment,
it's
the
more of
next
a-
segment on these, I would like so they had the lead designer on. Then next, I would like to see like concept artist, like environment team on it, and then as a continuation, the mission team.
Yeah.
So as they progress with the planning, so they also create the ISC segments for it. So we get
And, like
get
this was a
in on it.
great example of Jared not holding something to CitizenCon. Because this is exactly what we got for the UGF video at CitizenCon. And it's like, no, we're not going to hold this egg until CitizenCon, because we could have. We're not going to have it out for a while. So we could have taken this entire concept and make it a CitizenCon talk. But it's just like,
I mean, they would have had more. They'd have had more information by CitizenCon.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
we may even
Like,
still see it by CitizenCon. We actually, because this is, you know, there will probably be into some more like initial gray box or a Lot Zero or final art version of this concept. But the problem is that like all of this is still upstream. I'd like to see more of the downstream stuff. What will this turn into? It's a neat idea, but like, how will it actually affect our gameplay? That's what I'd like to see more about, or know more about.
And Smiffy, did you have anything that you wanted to see added to this, or have you already said all that you wanted to see added?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Paul summed it up pretty nicely. Like, we have this is still very much like a big open sky concept thing, and I know it's like in production, but it's just a tile set in production, right?
Yeah,
we don't
more
have
location. Yeah,
yeah, we don't have
nothing to populate the location with.
yeah, we
either
don't have
gameplay or
yeah. Like, I would like to see maybe maybe if they like came out with like, okay, so like this is like what's going to happen with like player housing, or this is what's going to happen with whatever. I would like to see more.
I would like to see like lower tier mission givers, not like this location's primary mission giver.
Yeah,
I would like to see just like such a random NPCs that want to go, have you go into the field and kill 50 crabs or so whatever.
Can you pick up my
those kind of
groceries?
mission givers. Yeah.
Right, little old lady, pick up my groceries.
I'm sitting here thinking, I've just
Pizza
realized there's
delivery.
another. Yeah,
Pizza
I'll talk
first.
about the
Pizza delivery second.
Domino's M50 delivery vehicle. But I was actually sitting here thinking, and I've just kind of realized, I've had this realization that there's a massive thing, like we were saying about construction. There's no plants or stuff, because there's a psychology in the real world that they try to put parks and stuff in because people go nuts without nature. And you could also play into law stuff here as well. So like in Hurston, where they're just kind of savage, they'll just have hollow trees, But I think the only place I can think of is Orizon that has trees, yeah? Or am I mistaken? in that? 'Cause
New
there's
Babbage
none
has
at
a
all.
bunch of nature as well.
Yeah.
New Babbage is inside of it. It's filled with plants, but
Yeah,
Yeah, it also has
and-
lots of windows out into the
You
area.
You get what I mean? Like, there's no massive park area. Like,
Isn't
yeah.
isn't ArtCorp
so-
or the planet itself supposed to have like a large, like one of the largest like nature
I'm saying.
reserves?
Yeah,
So
and
imagine.
ocean. So,
And
So
an
imagine
ocean.
that on a building perspective, where they have like a you know, a rooftop garden, or they have like a plant level or whatever is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I am all of
biological
those.
have you
level.
seen have you seen Multiverse of Madness?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that one
Oh, okay.
universe where all the buildings are like covered in trees and you got waterfalls coming out of them.
Yeah.
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 That would be
Yeah.
like a cool addition.
That would be a pretty
yeah.
cool planet. That
Yeah.
sounds like my Minecraft worlds.
And there's other little things like we know they're on the stretch goals, like pets. You know, like people are going to need areas to walk their pets.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
I
gonna
know
be
it's a
mission.
video
Clean
game.
up the Pope.
I don't know, and I don't know how they're going to get past this, but it's really jarring for me. But there are no kids. Like I know we're all clones now, so that kind of removes. Like if they
there
can
is
give us a,
We're not clones, but okay.
you know what I mean though. Like we're all.
There is a legal issue with
Yeah.
children in video games where you can do everything. So I mean, there were a couple of kids in some of their cinematics, so they do have the models for it.
Mhm.
Do you remember
But
children in Skyrim?
But
There,
it'd be
was
interesting.
there
if-
were indestructible children in Skyrim. Yes.
That they were
Yes.
assholes.
And I would be
because
absolutely
they were
fine
indestructible.
in wow, that word is now just not happening. Not invincible, indestructible.
Okay,
Children. Gosh,
Can I?
darn.
I would address it with having areas in places where it's you can't really go in there, so you can't shoot them or anything like that. But it's an area where the kids are raised, like a school or something like that. So you go past and you can see kids in there.
A child reservation.
Yeah,
The
how,
child
Yeah,
reserve.
like literally like that. No, I'm not kidding. But like that's how if we have to be grown up into
Yeah,
clones
that's
or
how I
whatever
view
it
my
is
friend's
to
house.
speak. They and maybe there's some legal reason like you don't like your kids are grown, they're not and raised by the government or something. I don't know.
How's Cyberpunk get around it? I haven't looked into that.
It's
I
like
think
They have
there's
them
only
walking
children
around
in
on the
Cyberpunk.
streets. There is
But
no.
you
There
can,
are
like,
kids that
run
walk
them
around on
over
the
with
street.
cars in
There are
Cyberpunk.
kids, and you
In
can't
ca-
kill them.
Wow. Okay.
So
I think you
Can or
kill them.
can't?
They may be indestructible. Chat will probably correct me because I got this thing
they're
before because
invincible.
I don't
Okay.
remember.
They're invincible.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, inner
I
high
didn't
places.
remember
I don't think it would
seeing
take
them.
away anything from the game because again, it adds to the immersion, but having them there. But like anyone who
Rigged.
tries to like mess with them, they're obviously the wrong. So if you test the background, like test the immersion, you're in the wrong already. But for everyone else who's not trying to test it, it makes a lot more sense seeing them than not seeing them.
I still like
Yeah,
the child
Champasta
reserves
makes
idea.
asks a good question about what is an SC? Are human borns or grown in tanks? And I think people still reproduce by fucking. So
Yes.
yeah.
What Execute was trying to explain, and I'll be very quick about it, so it's not because there is an actual legitimate misconception about this, is that everyone is a normally born human. It's just we tend to have in the Star Citizen universe they have really good genetic engineering, so every kind of flaw you can imagine can be removed from an embryo before it's
Gattaca.
So
Or Gattaca,
yeah,
whatever
it's
it is.
Gattaca, yeah. And which is problematic because everyone looks the same. They're not the same, but everyone everyone's beautiful. And so in a universe where everyone's beautiful, no one's beautiful because it's the standard. So like some people are intentionally getting like cosmetic surgery to like mess up their face so that they stand out, like get scars and stuff like that. So
I think that's
and be, like, a
actually
little
a thing in
asymmetrical.
Korea. It's like where people with not as like beautiful faces are actually seen as more desirable
because they're
or
unique.
or
Wow, I love
teeth.
psychology.
But yeah, so like yeah, there are the thing is that there's a system called and I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but it's regeneration. It means that when you die, you don't actually die. You get reprinted like a 3D printer with your consciousness stored back into your brain,
Like in the Fifth Element.
and it's using a technology we don't really fully understand because we stole it from the Van Duel. We just know
We
it's
probably
works.
stole it from somebody else.
Yeah.
because they are
So-
scavengers.
Yeah.
So it's and humans as typical are just like this can save lives. Let's just use it. But we don't have long-term like ramifications. We don't care. Just use it. Just do it.
I'm sure all of the industrial lobbyers was on top of that one. Just like, absolutely, we definitely want to send our employees into highly hazardous zones because they can go fix something and then just oh, you're crippled now with dangerous radiation. So I stabbed him in the back. Look, we saved you. You're now no longer dying of crippling radiation.
When equipment is now more valuable than people.
Oh.
Because you can just reprint a person. But if they die with safety equipment, that safety equipment is more valuable. So you'd have to retrieve it.
I'm sure there's somebody out there like,
hey man,
some
meat is
lab
cheap.
or something that is there testing, maybe voluntarily, maybe involuntarily, what the echoes are. Like if you get like slipped into a coma then die.
Yes,
what are
execute.
the echoes of that versus being shot by a shotgun or a bomb or something?
I've got an idea. Because the kids are growing up and they're because they're clones and stuff or whatever, they're to diseases and stuff. They put a personal shield on them to like literally bubble boys and bubble girls to protect them. So if you shoot them, the shield protects them. It's like a lifesaver shield.
And it should be like an
was wrong.
You can shoot them, but it does nothing.
Yeah,
Wait.
like an invulnerability.
So, but if
shield,
children can have that, why can't adults have that?
because you gotta do with
everyone
the stupid crap
invulnerable.
you do, because you walk into a bar and then piss someone off and get shot in the face.
Well, the government pays for it.
Yeah.
Or something
I
like
like
that.
I like that a lot. And it like instantly also is always recording. So the second you do anything, pings the officials.
Hey,
Yeah.
the lore guy's gonna speak right now, and I'll just have this great idea. Well, how about instead of all of this dumb shit, you just have kids that are invincible, or just don't have kids in the game, and that's fine.
Just what I think they're leaning towards. They're not.
Yeah,
but
This is
it's
fine.
really I find it jarring, but
but I mean, it's a video game. At the end of the day, there's just going to be limitations. Like we've had video games without kids for 30 years. It's not like in open world universes. It's not like it has to exist. So, but
Yes.
People Zoos does sound funny. So
Right?
I'm okay with invincible children who are inside People Zoos.
Now, I guess we have talked a bit about our concerns. Does anyone have any other concerns that they would like to voice about these building interiors?
I think chat wants kids to ride on each other's shoulders and wear trench coats. I think that would be the fix. No.
I did a business.
Uh,
All right. So, I'm going to switch up the order. So, Paul, what kinds of gameplay? You said you wanted them to talk more about the gameplay, but what kinds of gameplay can you envision with what we've gotten so far?
Oh, okay. I'm not going to steal all of it because I know that like everyone else has their own ideas, but I'm going to say the one that's at the top of my head that's very fun but rarely executed properly, which is espionage.
I mean, anyone who've read and I know not a lot of people read here, but the belligerent duck story, where it starts off with them infiltrating a Bering HQ to get into the server room, disable the turret, to get the file. And just as they get done, the sensors come back on, the turret's up, they're banging down the door, like, yes.
Yeah. So or like the like get accosted like Hitman style, where you get instead of necessarily assassinating you get the right you have to go out and get the outfit, you have to infiltrate with the right ID, you can't get too close to people because they might see who you are. The
Stuff they showed off at that one Citizen Con, right?
That's stuff, but like flesh it out a little bit more. Because I think espionage and stealth kind of gameplay like that is rarely done well in games, and the games that really do it well, like Hitman or to a lesser degree, well, it depends on the game, Metal Gear Solid and those sorts of things, where like they really focus on some of the stealth aspects of trying to not just go through like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, I mean, stealth
Thief
is
was
a big
great.
part of Squadron. Like they keep talking about, there are stealth sections of Squadron. So
there are large AI, like that's how they started the AI programming, was effectively how can they find you if you're hiding, and that was the beginnings of their whole thing. So they obviously have a large background of AI behaviors and gameplay designed around stealth. So how you could easily import some of that aspects, especially since this is a year plus project away.
Yeah.
That'd be something I'd love to see in there, because it would also flesh out a little bit more and make it more cinematic, as it were.
Mhm. Yep. How about you, Execute? What kind of gameplay can you envision in these spaces?
For me, it's kind of overlaying it with the mission system. So it just adds to, we know that, how do I put this? Combining missions so they all have like a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you could start in a building now and literally have a mission that goes right through the city and then up into space and landing on another moon and going underground or whatever. That's how complex we're getting to now. Like it is essentially real life missions, and I think just folding that into what we know of the mission system, we're going to get all this random complexity now, and it's fantastic. It adds a lot of depth. Yeah
I think like that's one of the things that Star Citizen like has that no other game really does, is that like you can spend an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours doing missions. Well, you will be inside of a city, and then you get a mission to take your first steps off the planet, and then you go to another city where there's just as much content, or like out into the middle of nowhere, and there's a wreck, and there's a story, and there's a thing to do, or mining. And it's like the one thing I say is like Star Citizen cannot be contained within a single conversation. You can talk as much as you like. You cannot contain the entire breadth of the game.
Like try to explain BattleTech to anybody.
The rabbit hole is what you call that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and to see like building interiors being able to bring so much more time within a landing zone is something I'm very anxious to see, because it's normally the landing zone is just between you and your ship. Like it's just a barrier. It's nothing to do there. It's just a barrier between you and your ship. Darj, what kind of gameplay can you envision?
Oh, this has been my dream ever since I heard of Star Citizen, but a desk job. Just in a random office, in a random floor, just like my own cubicle, so I can sit at a desk and push buttons all day long. No, but connected to that, like it would be cool if that sort of NPCs doing that stuff would exist. So you actually see how the world is supposed to run instead of just this mission-based, player-centric experience that we have right now. So they have the actual lives and works of the NPCs. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, there was at least one concept art with offices.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have offices on the new islands on Orison. So yeah. But gameplay wise, what could be? Jeez. I guess if you're starting off, you could get hired as maintenance to start fixing all the the top engineering floor will have coolers and HVAC and stuff like that. So you have to go in and fix that, and that's how you get your first couple of thousand credits, like similar to the missions in the prison when you have to go fix the oxygen exchanger and stuff like that.
And then you end up just stealing a cooler and putting it in your ship. It's great.
Yeah. Well, if it is the same sort of cooler, but
I mean, I think we've seen. I think specifically the vertical slice. It was the same power generator ripped out of a car vehicle thing, put it in a building. Like they're not making the same art twice. They're not going to make this is an outpost generator. This is a building generator. This is a city generator. This is a shipping generator. It's just size and grade, as far as I know.
Yeah. I think like one of the outposts on Daima right now, there is like some functioning equipment and there is like a generator humming away somewhere, but I haven't actually seen it. Fucking inner hype. See, this is what happens when you ask me stuff at 3 a.m. I want to be a janitor in one of those buildings.
The dark janitor.
Yes, exactly.
As I've said many times, I think mostly the captain's table is I cannot wait till Mop and Bucket comes to players' hands. Like I really want that cleaning gameplay. Like, give me the space, the
You can't wait for the bed sheet deformation, so you can make your bed. You can make beds.
I hate making my
Yeah,
bed.
that-
No, I'll pass
So
on that
that's
one. But
both
mopping the
janitor
floors,
and maid gameplay.
like maid gameplay. Gosh dang. I mean, I can see maid gameplay on an 890. Like that makes sense to me.
I thought Naz
Okay,
should be looking
ooh,
forward
what-
to the retail gameplay so you can do work at home. But yeah, because that's going to be a thing
what's the
too.
30th century
Only if they let
version
me
of a
have a
French-made
flamethrower.
outfit.
Within the in the retail stores.
Within the store. Right.
I'm sorry, I want to return this product I bought 50 years ago. By the way, I want it on the price that I paid it, which was like overblown. I know that it's like cheaper now, but also I want this thing on sale that ended 3 days ago. Fine, flamethrower.
Yes, the flamethrower is a great idea.
But cleaning, I really want to see.
You say that, but like that one mission in GTA 5 where you have to infiltrate the FIB building and pose as a janitor is one of the most boring things, though, because it is very much on rails. I would say if they make it like so you get to clean willy nilly with a multi tool, well, because Beam Citizen,
Power wash
That's the one.
simulator.
simulator, yeah.
Space power wash.
But that'd be cool. That would also be cool. So
I'd love to see like a cart kind of prop that does clean floors. That you have to like
yeah,
move around.
no,
to clean
but
the
I mean
floors.
like actual power wash simulator,
Mhm.
because ships are gonna get
Yeah.
covered in dirt and grime. But how the hell does the hangar magically clean your ship or repair it for that
Beams.
point? Yeah, well,
Beams.
beams. Yeah,
It's got beams. It's got little drones and beams.
but people in hangars with beams power washing your ship.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah. No, we need that. We definitely need that. Smith, I think I didn't ask you yet. What do you want?
No, you didn't ask me yet.
Okay, good. Means I'm on track.
Yeah, I think the gameplay that I'm most interested to see with the building interiors would be player ownership and like how that affects. Because we were sort of talking about this a bit about this before with like the travel hubs and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like everybody, if we're going to a single shard, everybody can't live at Aspire Grand, right?
I don't want to
We all
live at
ca-
Aspire Grand. All Green Circle, Aspire Grand, whatever the L19 and whatever the ArtCorp
like
one is.
we all can't
Adrena
fit
Falls.
there.
I hate them because I know what's coming. I've seen the original apartment concepts, and they're like 10 times the size of the stupid apartments. I hate them all because I'm not supposed to be living here. This is a temporary housing. I don't know why all the
fine.
apartments are centered in all these landing zones, because that's all the temporary housing. That's all the like I'm here for a day stay, not I live here. I don't know why all
Those are hotels.
Yeah.
What I want to see is like how how housing ownership works.
Didn't
also,
one of
like, with the
concept arts.
Yeah, a couple of them were player housing.
Yeah, like big ones.
Like pretty big houses. But like I really want to see how they like redefine the city. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you have like the neighborhood parking with like the transit hub thing with like a couple of like hangars or whatever, or you have like a snub hangar that's like under your balcony or something like that, right? Like this traversing the city changes.
Yeah. That'd be really cool if you had the snub hangar, like pay a premium and you get spot within the building.
Yeah.
For your snub hangar. And then you just put a Pisces in there or an 85X, and
or like a
most
Merlin,
of your gameplay is just going throughout the city. So you just go land in another building, like that.
Because I was talking about this like last week with somebody else the other night, and like we were just flying around. We were done track day. We were tired of doing loops at the Ahumahi Ring, and we're like just flying around Orison, be like, man, it'd be nice to like live here, and then like you have your little hangar, and you oh, I gotta go get my groceries, so I'm gonna go down to my little Merlin and go fly over here, right?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like,
and like the different cities are gonna have different traversal needs, right? Like, it's gonna be super cool.
Like having to stock your hab is going to be a thing. Just like if you stock your like food and med pens in your ship for a longer like outing, eventually you'll go through the food in your hab, or the armor or whatever you have in your hab. Eventually you'll have to go just to get stuff to store in your hab. Like grocery running will be a thing.
Yep.
So that'll be really cool. I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is gameplay staying within a city. The ability to have, now they're going to do this, but the ability to have a no ship starter pack to where you can start the game, spawn into the game, and I want them to have a spawn that's not in a room, basically a kind of like an intro like sequence of you like arriving or whatever into
getting
a
off
zone.
getting off a Valkyrie that just landed at the spaceport.
Something to usher you into the landing zone that's not waking up in a bed in a small stay hab, just to have you like, maybe like there's a shopping screen, like your first time in, there's a shopping screen and you shop around, you have X amount of credits to spend on a hab, so you have to like do the lowest tier hab, and like that's your start. Like the stupid bottom tier hab, that's trashy, so maybe you clean a bit. You go out and you have to do a couple missions in the landing zone, maybe to buy better stuff for your hab or buy a better hab. You get either like mass transit to a different part of the city, or even a different city to get better missions or whatever. And eventually you work your way up to buying your first space capable ship, your first quantum ability ship. And then basically your hab becomes your like backbone progression. Your ship becomes your secondary progression. And I think that is the thing I'm most looking for. The gameplay that I really want is that inside, being able to stay within a landing zone without the need of spending an hour looking at nothing. Because I did that way back, where I did an entire stream without leaving ArcCorp. And like there wasn't not anything to do. You can just look at all the pretty geometry. But to where you can actually spend, realistically, an entire game session without leaving the landing zone.
Yeah, but ArcCorp, like I said, needs to be expanded, and I don't think the buildings support their vision of interiors right now. So, Lorville is getting a completely new cityscape. I think ArcCorp is next on the cutting block, and we'll have an entire new
I'm pretty sure
tile
Babbage
set of buildings.
and Orison were built with building interiors in mind.
Yeah.
Because they
have the
saw it on
shaders
the horizon, and they're like, hey, we need to support this so we don't have to redo everything.
Okay, but here's the question: like they have the new shaders that kind of fake building interiors when you look at the windows, right?
Yep.
How are those gonna mesh with actual interiors of the buildings?
They're stopgap.
Not every building is going to have an interior. Just
Yeah,
because
not
they
every building's
could,
gonna
doesn't
have it, yeah.
necessarily every will.
Yeah.
Especially,
Also, it's a lot more performant than actually rendering that geometry through the window.
Yes, this is true.
So
No,
I
but
imagine
then
there'll be key buildings you can see, and
Yeah.
maybe if there's a player inside them, they'll render both ways. But it's a lot
because
more
right now, if you have your friend at one of those orbital stations, you can find where the window is, because it's like a very tiny actually a very tiny section of a huge station that the interior is. And you can see in and out. So what happens when your friend goes into one of those buildings that has the fake windows on the outside, but has actual proper interiors with windows on the inside? Like
there would be like little tiny fake windows and little tiny real windows.
Oh yeah, but that's gonna be
jarring.
Ugly.
Jarring, yeah. But yeah, hopefully it's only a stopgap for the actual buildings with interiors, and they'll just keep them for all the other stuff,
Yeah, I
like all the
imagine a lot
ancillary just
of-
cityscape stuff.
I imagine the texture for the I forget what kind of rendering technique it is, but for the windows is going to get a lot better.
It's cube maps thing.
Cube
yeah,
maps,
but-
Some kind of parallaxing.
Don't they parallax?
Yeah, they
They're
do parallax.
Okay, yeah. Because the implementation that they have in game now is not as good as the one they used in Spider-Man.
No. But they only implemented it because oh shit, Spider-Man did some cool thing. Let's do that with the technology we have.
Yeah, so I imagine they'll be getting an update eventually, so it might not be so jarring when we get to full interiors, especially from a decent distance. All right, so we've talked a lot and I mean a lot about maintenance areas specifically. And we haven't talked a lot about a lot of the other areas of the buildings. So we're going to start from the ground up. And we'll start with you, Paul. What do you think about the underground areas? Kind of like whatever, any thoughts, any extra things on specifically the underground?
I mean, I like the idea of underground racing. I like the idea. One of the things that they showed off, which I thought was really cool, it looked like a rebel stockpile. It was stockpiling weapons and stuff like that. Just people in plain clothes walking around with weapons, or like, you know, outlaw stockpile or smuggling area. I like the idea of the underground. Yeah, I like the idea of underground because I know Execute plays it as well, but it reminds me of Necromunda. Reminds me of Underhive kind of gameplay. You could easily add that in there of like sort of gangs in the lower districts. You have to kind of, you know, your own mini ruin station in some of these places would be nice.
For those who played KOTOR as well, the underlayers, yeah. All right, Execute. What do you think about the underground?
I'm probably going to give a negative here, just because they never talked about it. Was and I talked about it on my stream. They didn't give any talk about spawning of vehicles, and I think that's a really huge part of buildings. It connects it to the rest of the city. I know they talked about like the hubs and stuff, but like for me, you know, like you think of the mission, you land on the top of the roof, you come down through the building, slaughtering everything, you get in a vehicle and then drive off or something like that. You know, that's
because they'll all share PTVs.
So but like and they talked about the underground racing, but they really had an opportunity to highlight the Nox there, because the Nox is literally that city urban Akira, you know, racer. Well, you talked about the other, what's that, the Ranger, the Akira one.
Ranger.
But sorry, I'm thinking of the show me and Paul did yesterday. But the point I'm trying to get to is they should have talked about that more. And besides the Nox, I'm trying to think of another one, but I'm probably wrong here, but we don't have a lot of urban vehicles, right? So there's this whole nother, you know, like where's the fire truck? Where's the utility truck? I think the mule's the closest thing we've probably got to something like that. But you can just quickly see the space.
Where's the family sedan?
Yeah, where's the, you know, I know we've got the Pisces now, so we've kind of got the ambulance. So like you can see that now rocking up and landing somewhere and helping someone that's been in an accident, you know, and the you know, the NPCs, and there's a police, the police Avenger rocks up, you know, which we've seen from the advocacy and stuff like that, you know, and there's some form of fire truck that rocks up. You get where I'm going with this, like recreate, you know, where's the construction and garbage vehicle for cleaning the streets, and it's there, you know, picking up all the robes from all the people that spawned at the hab, you know. You get where I'm going with this, like making
where's the white van that all the tradies drive.
And I to me, as soon as I heard buildings, as soon as I heard the buildings, it was like vehicle spawns. That was the first thing, and they just didn't really talk about it. So I was kind of,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, even though, as far as I know, all they plan to do is intercity transit, like the subways. But that is a big thing that I think will be missed if they don't do it. Is roads.
Yeah,
like take your whatever wheeled vehicle, drive yourself to the next stop. Like that's even like. Because the game is built on this do it your way base, like fly your own ship your way, do your missions.
No, it's a trained citizen.
You get into a city and everything you have to do is on somebody else's time. Whether that's a mission you're doing for someone, a mission giver you have to go to, a train you have to wait for. Literally everything is opposite the entire rest of the game inside of a landing zone. Yes. Execute.
Just had an idea. Paul, if they made a taxi called the Element, what manufacturer would make it? I think that's what they got to do, yeah? Call it the Element taxi? I don't know.
Yeah, so like for the Element taxi. Yeah, that could work.
Yeah. But who would make it?
It'd be
like Argo, but it's yellow instead of...
No, it'll be a new manufacturer called the OP, so you can have an Element OP.
Works, though.
If they're gonna do something like that, they would probably do something with like my guess would be if it was a wheeled vehicle, it would be tumbrel, but if it was a non-wheeled vehicle, then I could see RSI would be the easy one. Just because RSI
it'd be really cool if it was both. So it's like an kind of like how the Dragonfly can fly in atmosphere and stuff like that. That's what I'm envisioning. Something that could do both, so it converts.
Dragonfly can fly in atmosphere.
You could even do a thing kind of like the DeLorean, where the wheels turn.
I mean, Argo is built on mass transit. Like that is their bread and butter.
Yeah.
So they started with like the subway and trains on Mars. It's no reason why they can't graduate to car vehicle things.
Maybe that's Starcitizen thing. They just make orange taxis instead of yellow. Sorry, Dodge.
Yeah, I think that we're not gonna see any sort of wheeled or like small personal transport in cities, just because Chris Robert grew up in Europe and that it's not a thing. Europe is not as car centric as America is. By
But Nox is a thing, and it's a city racer, and they've already talked about it going along roads. Like it's literally in the concept. So
outside of roads, yes, between cities. I don't think there's like something like you have like a very tiny car for two people to get in and go from one building to another building in the same city.
But it mentions urban racing in the Nox, so that implies in the city racing. So.
Yeah, but that probably would be an exception instead of the rule.
Again, if you go back to what
I think all these cities are going to be predicated on public transport primarily.
I think if you go back to what Spiffy said, different economic levels. Some cities will have roads, some cities will have urban transit. Like so, you've got like again the microtech versus the Hurston type of thing. Yeah. So some cities will have roads.
And I know using concept is a terrible way of trying to gauge gameplay, but all the Terra shots have very distinct roads. Like,
that's what I was about to say.
Built into the fabric of the city to have roads to be a New York-like city.
Yeah, from the Disco League, they all had roads everywhere.
To have a Europe-centric city, you also have to have the opposite, right?
But Daj is right. We do have crafted cities in the real world too. Like in Australia, our capital city is called Canberra, and it was a planned city from the get-go, right? And it's really weird because if you look at it on a map, it had all these centric circles, right? And then after the city kind of evolved and got bigger, on the outer suburbs, they all just became like normal cities and went into grids, right? So the point I'm trying to get at is if they again planned a city, they could be what Daj said, where they just have so much mass transit you don't need roads. But then wouldn't it be cool to show real life? Then on the outside, once you get outside the mass transit, it then turns into roads.
Yeah, like on the outskirts and between cities, there I can definitely see like you have like the Steves and the UTVs just going back and forth. I still want road trains. Like I want the Spartan. Not the Spartan. The Atlas platform have like a road train, so they can carry cargo. Multiple trailers from
like
city
that
to city.
thing in Mandalorian, where they're like fighting off to like dudes on the.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that line from Back to the Future where they say "run for fun" when he goes in episode 3, and I'm thinking they would still race and drive for fun in the future. That would be a thing. That whole thing where you hear the guy go, "I just love the feel of the engine between my legs." That type of. And a lot of people that have those really expensive cars, they do just like the need for speed. So I think that would be a thing too. And again, there might even, I don't know, Paul, you might be able to tell me if this is a thing or not, but there might even be places where people can go, like in the real world, they go to racetracks and they take their car and they, so in the city, they have like an arena, like a stadium or something.
Yeah, that's all fine, but it's not like the backbone of the infrastructure of the city is reliant on wheeled vehicles for transporting everything. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see. Well, I'm looking at all the different places. I'm trying to say, well, if they didn't have roads like you're saying that they probably wouldn't have, how's another way they could do an urban Nox race? And that's what I'm saying. If you put it in a stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but then there's just NASCAR because you go all going around in circles, and that's not fun.
Doesn't have to be circular, and it's in the future. This stadium could be astronomically freaking huge. Yep, and and it could be huge too. Like it's not like a modern stadium. It's
Yeah, if you've actually like
Mm.
flown around the Bevic Convention Center, that thing is massive.
Yeah.
Mm.
They could have temporary tracks that are holographic shield tracks that turn on and are actually connected between buildings and go up around the buildings and everything, and they just turn it on and turn it off as they need it. You know, they could do anything they want. Again, it's a video game,
Right.
so
I think we're to Darj now. I think so.
What was the question?
What do you think about the underground specific areas of
Oh,
buildings?
right, yeah. I like them, and I like the idea that some of them could be like if the above ground world has forgotten that those connective things exist, and the undesirables kind of start making their own society in there. That could be like a great dichotomy. I think Arcane was a great example recently on in a narrative way of showing that you have like the rich people living above ground, and then the poor dejected people below ground. But also, just if they exist, like connections, a cool thing would be like if not every building had a landing pad. So you had a mission to go into one of those buildings to either deliver something or steal something or whatever, or infiltrate it. But you had to, land somewhere else and then you make your way, through surreptitious underground passages to the building and then up into it. That sort of yeah. That's the sort of connective elements would be interesting to do underground, especially if they're not as if they're maybe known but not considered to be um, a priority when it comes to security and stuff like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Smithy,
Yes.
what do you think about the undergrounds?
I sort of have some more questions about them, right? Like, sort of what like Execute was talking about, like how. What I want to know is like how connected they all are, right? Because like it could be like because in the video they're like, yeah, it could be a forgotten like transit thing. It could be like an underground sewer or like whatever. Yeah, but like how connected are they? Would this be like your ground connection everywhere? Like how you get to other buildings and stuff if you were to have a vehicle? Like, could you go from like this part of the city's underground to like the opposite end of the city's underground and be all
Smithy,
connected?
if you think back to when they were very first talking about how they built ArcCorp on an ISC, they actually did talk about like a grid system and roads. I remember it now. But again, I'm really rusty on it. I'd have to actually go back and watch how they did it. But now you combine those two systems together.
Yeah.
Because remember, I don't know how much you remember, but they also talked about the lakes on ArcCorp. They'd have to come back and do all that. But if you combine those two systems, I'm now seeing
Like yeah, it would be really cool if it was all connected like that.
So like
right?
you'd have like your neighborhood and transit hub, and then from that transit hub you then transfer to the artery that is on the grid.
Yeah, so all you would need to do is build that hub to the metrics of whatever, say, a city block is for ArcCorp as an example, and then it just becomes one of those city blocks, and then again the roads are just between all the grids. But does it need to be grids? Does it need to be can you do circles? Like does it the complexity comes in with the terrain, because again, as soon as you bring the train in, like roads traditionally follow the coastlines or lakes, arteries and stuff like that. So that's where it becomes really complicated. But they can technically code that with an elevation as well. Oh man, I envy the person that's doing that. But
right.
But it is possible. It'd be really interesting to see where they go with that, because I think as I'm sorry if I interrupted here, Smithy, but I think that is the next part. You're saying, like, how are they connected? I think that is the connection, isn't it? Like, how are they going to pull off roads to that complexity? Road. Let's be honest. You guys tell me if you think different, but roads are messy in the real world. They're not just these perfectly straight lines.
Unless in New York.
Well, and there's a reason why they're not, because people, especially in long distances, they did studies about how, like, when you just drive straight on, drivers get sleepy, and it's very, so that's why they're all windy.
Well, not
And
only that,
originally
it
they
also
wanted to do that.
it affects architecture too, Paul. I'm thinking of that really big wedge building in New York. I can never think of the name because I'm not from there, but you know the one I'm
Flatiron.
talking about. Yeah. But like, how are they going to get around that? Like, so they're going to have buildings that are weird shapes that fit into areas of the. Oh wow! Like I said, the complexity level has just gone up significantly.
But Paul, it's not just like people get tired. People don't desire to go in a straight line.
No, it's not fun.
No. Just look up desire lines in on Wikipedia just to see, because whatever the city decides is the most optimal way of transport, people are gonna cut across, and walking paths are gonna start appearing, because that's people want to go instead of 90.
And then we got all this stupid traffic calming happening and cutting off all my like routes across town.
I don't know about you guys, but I also see some terrain tech there in the future, because like think about natural foot traffic in the real world, and I'm sure you in Australia, I can't talk for where you guys live, but there'll be like a footpath that they make, but it's slightly just like 20 meters too long, and everyone's cut across the grass, and there's a track where all the grass
that is that desire path, yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of that like around highways.
But they could do that where like if there are a lot of NPCs taking the short path and a lot of humans taking the short path, that the grass gets degrown in that. That'd be really cool, because it's just alpha channels, so it's all possible.
Yeah, it's really not hard.
Yeah, but they would have to actually make the nav meshes for the NPCs to allow to go on the grass instead of primarily.
Yeah,
maybe like a lower priority, so they
that's what I meant.
And they just talk about
so use
channels in the monthly report.
Well, a lot of the stuff with the terrain is done with alpha channels, so you just have different colors that has a different level of prioritization.
Yep.
But again, if they detect that a lot of normal humans are going that way, that then the NPCs might start to follow them, as well as like a. You see where I'm going? It could make it very realistic.
Or
really cool.
They already have like the NPC sort of like what is it called? The crap.
No, not yet. They don't have crap yet.
No, they don't have crap.
It's not Poop Citizen yet.
Shoot. That's it.
Pathfinder?
Stereotypes. Not stereotypes, but
Archetypes?
Archetypes. Thank you. They already have like the archetypes, right? So like maybe you could have like a weighted system. So like they like follow the nav mesh, but if they're like more of like an asshole, they might like walk across the flowers, right?
Yep, or they're really efficient, or they're late for work, or I can see where you're going with that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have one that will not travel on the established pathways, but there's some that have like the OCD that they have to follow the exact lines that are on the ground. So
me and Paul have got one of those.
OCD arms dealer in the
we've
game.
got Algrid. Algrid refuses to run a lot of the time, and it is you're trying to get a show set up, and it's like Algrid just fucking run.
I will stop running, or at least run less, like I said, when there's something to do in the landing zone, and when it's not just between me and my ship. When it's not just
the only reason right now is
my ship.
Heavy armor is the only excuse, and he generally walks around in an admiral suit, doesn't he, Paul? But yeah. So
And I close my note. There we go. All right. So going back around one layer up, the lobby system, the lobby idea, the very non-idea idea that they throw out, because like it is a lobby, or it's a supermarket, or it's a bazaar, kind of like it was like the most open concept that they had. Like, hey, we can just throw whatever we want here.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like okay, never mind. Pick a person first.
Smithy, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say it's sort of like I could see it depending on like density of a building, right? Because like a lot of times you get like a high rise that is like just a high rise, and it's like for fancy people it has like the lobby, but like for like a really high density like city area where they're trying to like get more foot traffic along the street, they might have like high density high rise with like floor level stores.
Mm-hmm.
Or what have you, or like
in Cyberpunk, you got like a food vendor, and you got like a weapon shop, and
or like a lot of, and like especially around here, like a lot of mid-level or like mid-density buildings are getting a lot of that like street level retail, right?
Let's see. Let's go Darge next. What do you think of the lobbies?
Yeah, an entrance to a building makes a lot of sense. To have a like the first impression when you enter a building is very important. Whether it's a welcome inside, or whether it's something that you know immediately that you don't want to, want to get in, do your business, and get out immediately as possible. That is, it's going to be the presentation of what you can expect inside that building. So that is probably one of the things they need to get right the most, I would think when it comes to design, actual not actual like visual design, but
Environmental storytelling.
yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Player pathing.
Yeah. And yeah, just the atmosphere of it. Like, we'll have building, because it's the one layer from the underground, but it's also the street level where if you want to present a good face, the company's going to spend a lot on that lobby level. The city owns the underground, the building owns the lobby. So if they want to show a good face, it's going to be, that's your first impression of it. And if it runs down, if the buildings run down in a bad part of town, you have that kind of bizarre marketplace that springs up there just because that's where everyone is. I forget what Dynamo Dream had a really good kind of aesthetic. It was an episode of a short film that the guy swears it's not going to take 5 years for the next episode to come out, but it will.
Did anyone see that movie, the latest Judge Dredd movie? Because that's what you're making me think of now.
I
Yeah,
don't
mega
think
I-
buildings like that. Yeah.
I was going to say that's what the lobbies reminded me of when they showed the pictures of the lobbies. Is it reminded me of the Judge Dredd like city, the whatever they call the
Mega cities.
Well, not the mega city, like the building. They call it like a block or whatever.
Oh
like,
yeah,
whatever.
the mega blocks or whatever they're called. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all mega stuff in Judge Dredd.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and then Peachtrees was the actual name of that particular
Yeah,
one.
Peachtrees. It was called
Yeah.
Peachtrees. Yeah.
Yeah, but the type of building also has a name. Peachtrees was that specific one, but it's like its own city within the city because everything is available in it.
Yeah, it's all
which I
based
think
off
that's
the
what
like
college
Cyberpunk
concept.
actually just copied the concept of that for your residential building.
Paul, lobbies, what do you think?
I like them. I like the idea, especially since like we already have some lobbies that exist in game right now, and places like Area 18. The one question I have is the existence of lobbies it assumes that there might be street level.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'd have questions about. Is that like, does that mean that we're going to have a street level? Are we going to literally have full blown cities where we're going to have roads or sidewalks or just walkways
that we
between
can-
all these things?
That
I
we
think
can
not
drive,
just like-
I think
execute,
most of
Knox
the
is in.
intent that I saw
Yeah.
in the video was mostly that it was, you have the underground transit, the trains we have now kind of just submerged, and then just you kind of walk to the door of this, and then you go into that lobby section, which is it's street level, but it's subway street level. Like,
I don't
you
think
took
so.
a subway to get there.
I can
Well,
kind of
that's
see
what
it.
it sounded
Could be
like.
both. Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
I think Area
realistically,
18 has the room for it, so that would make sense that it's straight from public transport into a lobby.
Yeah.
But on
Very
something
much
like New
the,
Babbage, New Babbage
CBD.
has walking rooms. If you just walk up to buildings in New Babbage, you see there's like garages and entrances, even though
Yeah.
you can do nothing in them.
yeah.
I think.
I
Go ahead.
was gonna say, I think realistically, what we're gonna wind up happening is we're gonna have like a couple of like little islands of activity,
Mhm.
right? So like you'll have like a couple buildings that are connected on like a street level, and you'll have like with maybe with like access to like one of those like transit hub things where you can like land your ships in or whatever. And then you'll also have like, and then like maybe you can like transit between them in the underground, maybe.
All right. X, what do you think? What do you think about the lobbies?
So this is actually what gave me the idea for the expanding of the landing zones and making them procedurally generated, because you could actually use the lobby tech to also do like full-on landing zones, expand the whole system right out, whether it's shops, parks, everything. And again, making modules that work in one area, work in another, which we know they love to do. So, a coffee shop in a lobby can be a coffee shop in a town square. It can be a coffee shop on a Banner Merchantman. It can be a coffee shop on a space station. So again, just taking that and expanding it out, it just makes the most sense to me. You know, so it doesn't have to be a shop. You know, select one. You know, a toilet block. You know, a small park. Whatever. You know, even that little statue they showed of what was the band, Paul?
It was the jazz and the geodes. Jazz and the geodes.
You know, and that doesn't just have to be a band. Like they could have 10 different hollow projectors and 10, you know, a band and then a dinosaur exhibit, whatever, you know. So they can take that and expand that as well. You see where I'm going with this? So really quickly, again,
come see the kids do.
Signage.
But you get where I'm going. Yeah. You get where I'm going though, right? Like all the systems they've built before, you bring them back into this, and it just it makes itself. Yeah. You can see where I'm going with this.
Absolutely.
So I don't think limiting it just to lobbies is going to be a thing. I think this is that while they're creating this, that someone's going to have the same realization I've had. They're not idiots, right? That they can actually use this to do procedural landing zones, and it would also help them make new landing zones.
Yeah. I would say that's the secret. That's the secret sauce, is that if they did something like that, it would make the problem, that's the major problem right now, is that landing zones are handcrafted, so they take a long time for them to build.
If Tree was here, he would have started with that. Like,
well, I did start with that. If you go all the way back to the beginning, that was one of the very first things I said. But anyway, But you can see every time they add something bespoke, it just folds into that system now. Mm-hmm. So you know that statue at Levski they've got, they make a statue like that, but then they make it a bit more modular. You know, so maybe one's out of bronze, one's out of gold, one's whatever. You know what I mean? They make a hollow statue or a system for hollow statues, so they can take any model asset they have in game, and it works on that hollow system. You get where I'm going. Really quickly, this thing just writes itself. And they again, as Paul said, the biggest problem with procedural generation is repetitiveness. And any way you can remove that, it's huge. So essentially, we're just making a modular system more modular, and it would just over time, every time they just add more and more things to it, it becomes less repetitive. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think you get where I'm going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. You said something that just made me think about the BMM. And like how the BMM might actually be useful is like, you're like, it could be like a coffee shop at a BMM. I'm like, holy shit, I could bring a coffee shop with me in a BMM.
No, the BMM doesn't ever come out. It's a ship that will never come out. Remember, they said that it's not coming out ever.
Well, that's another tangent for another time. But I still think we are getting an Origin shop chip at some point. Because if you look at we know that there's more shop ships coming, right? You've got essentially 4 ships on the private.
Ships.
You've got 4 ships on the privateer. One of them is private though, but there is 4. You've got then 3 on the Banner Merchantman, so that means that the next one down is going to have 2, and the one after that's going to have 1. If you kind of look at it from a realistic, one of them has to be Origin for fashion, 100%. And I don't know, Paul, if you're willing to talk about it, but we know through the grapevine that they're working on a lot of female fashion stuff. So I actually think it is going to be a big thing. Like I can see. Well, I don't know. I'm not a woman, right? But I could see that I can see Buster, right? I don't know about you, Paul, going around doing a fashionista, trying to sell her wares, and I could see her doing all that, right?
Listen,
as I know Buster.
We're getting into that. There's also the reality that the end game of all MMOs is fashion.
Yeah,
customization. It's fashion. People don't play MMOs. They don't grind MMOs for 40 hours a week or whatever just because they want to meta build their builds. They want to look good. Yep. They want to walk into this place and show off who they are, their avatar.
Well, they want to meta build their build so that they can grind for fashion.
Yes.
It goes a little bit further in this game too, because it'll be the same thing for the vehicles and ships too, Paul. I'd have to say. I don't know if you agree, but
yeah, that's why skins for ships.
But I mean the thing is so, and there is one of the realities of Star Citizen right now is that Star Citizen is heavily male dominated, and I know CIG doesn't want to have that be the case because MMOs are one of the few gaming genres at the moment that are about even. About women and men tend to people identify as women or men tend to be 50-50. And it's because there's some games that are much heavier, have a heavy population for women. But Star Citizen could easily do that. The problem is, and as you're right, they really need to have that expansion. And I think that's a good example of lobbies, like most places, to be able to diversify shops beyond just the garbage shops we have now.
Well, it's what's that old line, Paul? Build it and they will come. You've got to build things that appeal to women. Right now, from analytics on my channel, I don't know if yours is the same, Paul, but it's roughly 1%. It's quite low.
Yeah. Oh yeah, same.
Yeah, and so it's not just pink. It's like you can't just make something pink and make it immediately like desirable to women. It has to actually be feminine.
CIG has enough employees to know that. Like, like even with the Coremore ads, like the Coremore page, it wasn't like, oh, this is the female event. Like there's a couple on the front page, both wearing pink. Like they know. They know.
Paul, you've given me a show idea, but I'd actually like to do a kind of round table, maybe me and you, and then a few women from because I don't know if it works with both you and me, but I'd like
an expert opinion. X finally does the thing that no men want to do and ask a woman for advice about women.
You don't know this about me,
but
I
mansplain fashion.
No, well, that's how I might come across. But I was actually raised by all women, so very regularly I go out with a lot of the women in my life. So like at Christmas time, I went out with all my aunties and one of my cousins, and I was the only guy there. Right, so that happens quite a lot in my family. I just because I tend to understand women from that point of view. But the point I'm trying to get at is I'd actually like to sit there and ask them, like, because to me, like knowing some of the women the way I do, actually designing clothes would be a really cool thing that they could put into this game that I think would really take off. Just as in if you use, essentially, but actually build give them a way to put different collars on different. You get where I'm going with this, because some of it will be textures, some of it will be, again, like we already have different versions of things in game. So if they can go to that level, it'll be the same thing with men putting small touches on their ships, like little fins and.
Where's actually external geo for ships that we can.
You get what I mean? Yeah.
I mean,
so if
I was only sort of joking about it, but you're basically talking about an expert opinion, but actually ask women to come in and talk about what they would actually want in Star Citizen.
Exactly. Because like we don't exactly think like I could sit here and theorize, but like the other part of it, Paul, would be us putting ideas to them and see if we like what I'm trying to say essentially, Paul, is a way for us to bridge that gap so guys can at least start thinking what would appeal to women, because I guarantee you some of those things will appeal to men as well. Right? Yeah. That's what I'm essentially trying to say. So I don't know. We'll talk about that after and see if we can set something up. But I can think of a couple of women right off the bat that I'd want to bring in on that. But yeah, I've got 3 in mind straight away. But yeah.
Look, guys, I'll have to apologize, but I was hoping that I'd be able to hold out for the entire show, but I am really starting to fall asleep here. It's getting to be 4 a.m. So
we're about just gonna here. So yeah.
No worries. Yeah, well, but I know how these things go. You could be going here for another hour at least. So, but
I hope not.
Definitely.
The plan. The plan is what is it called? 2 hours. So.
It's 2 hours
now. But I haven't really said anything in the past half hour anyway. So.
Yep. No, you're fine. You're okay.
Yeah. All right. So you guys have fun and enjoy. Yeah, and
nice meeting you, Darsh.
Yeah. You as well. And I'll see you guys later.
Bye. You still here?
Talk about trying to get rid of a guest that just won't leave.
There we go. I don't have a background for him right now.
All right, everyone start shit talking. Darsh just left.
I mean, he can still open the chat. Anyway, because we are coming up really quick on the 2 hours, at least according to what I'm seeing. Does anyone have any things that weren't covered by the questions already asked? Any ranting they'd like to do, Smith?
I think for me,
Uh,
Not calling anyone out or anything. Just yeah.
yeah, right.
But-
Yeah, fine. If you're gonna give me the soapbox, give me the soapbox. But like,
Yeah, don't call him Smithy. It's too obvious. Call him like Bob or Joe Bob. Yeah, that's less obvious.
yeah.
What's that line from The Simpsons? You know the one? B Simpson. No, that's too obvious. Bart S. Yeah.
Yeah, Bart S. Yeah. Yeah. No. I think we've done a lot of we talked a lot about all the crazy things that are possible with this, and I think that I really want to make sure that the community sort of has an understanding that a lot of this stuff is not coming in 4.0. And a lot of this stuff is not coming right away. What they showed off in that video, and I think Paul and I have said it, but it's just a building set. They're just making art assets and potentially a system to implement the art assets. That is it, right? Gameplay will come.
But the one thing I would add to that, and you have to admit, every system they've built then has another system built on top of it, with then another one built on top of it, and then they intermingle and all that. So what I'm trying to say, and I know I always sound a bit hopeful, is I can see where this can go. And the very first thing I said was potential. When he asked me a positive, was potential. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah,
it connects a lot of dots. Yeah.
The potential is there, and it's being built really smart as a foundation for future gameplay, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome to see it, but it's also going to be it's going to be really cool when the gameplay actually comes out for it.
I just looked over at Naz and I thought Eddie had a massive, huge red nose there for a second, and I had to double check.
I'm going to jump on what Smiffy said and basically just said this is awesome. All this stuff is awesome. And while I'm not on the crowd that's just that's just concept art, because I think that downplays what actually the plans are. At the same time, it's just concept art. That's all it is right now.
Yeah.
So we
might have some white box bits.
It's an exciting concept, though, isn't it? Not though.
Yeah. It's great.
Totally
it's a great concept. But it's take the hype engines and set them down to about 15%. Set it to the Bender GIF. Neat. That's at this point that's what it is. Yeah. So
I think the reason I'm so hyped for it though is it connects. It's connecting these dots. It's like taking that So you know how you had the space connected to the planet type thing, and everyone got really excited for that. Now I'm seeing the terrain connected to the buildings, and that's exciting me again, because now it's full circle.
Yeah,
I love it when you can see loops, and when you get that full loop. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, it's super exciting.
Yeah,
super exciting.
It's the same thing with the like I look for things that connect those loops. So Paul's heard me talk about this before. I really want scanning in, because once we get scanning in, the piracy will come, and all that other stuff. It's the last missing little link in that chain, and we've got the very first fundamental game loop, and all the escorting will kick off, the bounty hunting, the piracy, all that will really come. And that's the last thing. I think after they do salvage and repair, it has to be the next thing they work on, because it'll just emergent gameplay like crazy.
Yep.
But I don't know if maybe there's other things that we can't see that are ready for it. But
yeah. I mean, and then for me, again, I think I'm all aligned with a lot of the. It is amazing. It is great. And I absolutely loved the entire presentation, because it wasn't just art for art's sake, but it was a design talk with concept art behind it. They would talk about this is our design for the interiors. These are the kinds of places we want to build. They also had concept art for the people who can't stand to talk about design, because design is normally, when you start a project, really kind of out there and nebulous and just not really put together. We would like to do these kinds of things and those kind of things. It's not till you get to a point where you can start playing with those, kind of like the gray box phase, where design is able to step in. So this is what we're doing. So I really like the entire design talk about it. But yeah, it's year plus out. Absolutely. This is not a 4.0. This is a 4.1, 2, 3, 5 something.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get building interiors with 1 or 2 buildings in 4.0 or whatever.
Yeah.
But we might not get player habitation right away. We might not get all of these things put together, right?
If what I said comes to pass, it'll never end. they'll be
Yeah.
constantly just adding new shit to this system that just expands and expands and expands.
I think
They'll end up having like with the metrics, you know how we've got like different sized landing pads and jump points and stuff like that. They'll have different size rooms, just like they have the. If you think about how the cargo box works, you know, you got the quarter SCU, then an SCU, and then do that with rooms, so they all interlock and interchange, and
they
see where it goes very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the original ideas 4-player has, was you would get basically a floor and a door. And
That's
then
the concept. It's Lego.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and then you Lego your houseway. Yeah. But then bringing it back to like what we got, like you pick your theme for each room. So I want the high class classical lobby with the piano in it, but I want my kitchen to be very sci-fi origin style, or I want, you know, a shooting range in Drake's style, that rough.
And this room is just a storage room, so I don't have to spend too much money on wallpaper, right? Like
Yeah. And that's kind of like that was one of the original concepts for for player housing, was you just buy a door basically, and then you have to buy each individual room. So yeah. So that has been the first Star Citizen community content creator Star Citizen content creator roundtable. There we go. I need to find a better name, or just lean into it harder.
there's a lot of C's in that acronym.
There is. It's SCCC.
What do we call it? Start the train wreck.
Start the
Train wreck podcast.
Choo
Train wreck for
choo.
short. Yeah, that's
Oh
it.
man,
That's
might
gonna
just.
stick.
Welcome to the train wreck roundtable.
Naz's friends roast Naz for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. There's a lot of content there. Thank you.
Oh,
all
you're
of
muted.
Oh, you're
For-
muted.
Oh, you're muted.
What? Paul,
Thank you.
Paul?
I was gonna say the Star Citizen Content Creator Roundtable. So the SC the SC3 RT, the SC3 RT.
SC3RT. Yes, there are ideas.
Yeah.
The script.
Script.
It's really a pile of shit, right?
Thank you, all of you, for showing up, for actually agreeing to do this, especially with all the being tired and stuff that happens in time zones.
This will be my first of 3 shows today, but yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. I hope this is the start. I'm loosely hoping to do this every week, but I don't know if I have enough in me to do this next Sunday. So maybe
Not
once
easy,
every
man.
other week. It's
Once a month would be good too. I mean, that's what Tomato does something similar, and he does it like I think once a month. So it's a good idea.
We're,
don't
I'm
push
still
yourself too
workshopping
hard.
the frequency.
Do whatever you have time and energy for, man.
Yeah, and Paul
I
and I
have no
can
time
probably
and no energy, and I just have to throw myself at the wall until something happens. This is
I
this is
understand
how
that.
I make content.
Hey, you'll get burnout, man. Like me and Paul will tell you, like we could do 3 or 4 shows a week if we had to, but like we only do 1 a week because otherwise you just completely burn out. You know, it's
And like
Yeah.
this week was kind of extenuating because we had such a good concept to start with. Like there's a lot to talk about in this subject. So, or maybe I'll just beat you to the punch with the whole professional. What do they call? You just
professional point of view.
Professional opinion.
Yeah.
Oh.
What'd you call it? The expert opinions. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So maybe we'll beat you to that one. It depends. Anyway, thank you everyone in chat for showing up. This will be posted onto the YouTubes as soon as YouTube is done processing it. My brain is completely mush now. Go follow all of these people, including Darj, on their things. For those watching after the fact, all of their links will be in the description. Other than that, it has been a good show, a great show, and I have to go find the OBS. I'm looking at it. To go find the end button. It's fine. Thank you all for coming. We'll be back, at least on my channel, we'll be back tomorrow with a normal stream, and we'll see. Check the Discord and other in the description of all of my other streams to see when we're doing this next. Thank you all for coming, and as always, good night and be kind.